Hi, my name's Charlotte and this is Tom, and we're here in Frome to talk about Earth's jurisprudence. So what is Earth's jurisprudence?
So Earth jurisprudence is not the same as animal rights. What's happened is we have gradually grown apart from nature and the natural world, and we've allowed business models and practices to develop which are starting to seriously harm the planetary life support systems that not just nature but humans, as we're part of nature, we rely on it too. And Earth jurisprudence is a way of tweaking the kind of fundamental heart of the legal system to shift our human behaviour back more in line with the natural world. It's not prohibitive, it doesn't stop us doing things, but what it does, it just provides that legal outer framework. It doesn't stop human ingenuity, but provides that legal outer framework to just shunt society so that it lives more in tune with nature. And really it shows the fundamental power of the law to do that.
Why is Earth's jurisprudence important?
Because we're in an age of mass extinction. We have climate change, which is highlighted in the news a lot at the moment. But so Earth jurisprudence is a really good way of trying to combat those big issues.
Can you give any international examples that are relevant to the River Frome?
Yeah, there's a really good example in New Zealand called the Whanganui River. And here the Maori people viewed the river as a living entity. And when they tried to put this into the common law system, there was no way of really dealing with that properly. So they came to an agreement with the New Zealand government and they gave the river legal personality, which meant that the guardian was appointed from the Maori people and from the Pākehā, the non-Maoris, to look after the interests of the river and to treat the river as if it had a sort of equal right, if you like, to people. So legal personality would do two things. The first thing it would do is it would give it an additional suite of common law remedies. So if people polluted it or harmed it in any way, then the guardians of the river would then be able to sue to protect the river. And the second thing it would do is it gives a kind of moral right to the river, if you like, so that it's perceived in a different way. We cease to look on it just as a river, but we look on it more as if it has some sort of vital part to it. So there's a legal and a moral object to doing this.
So what's next with the River Frome?
So an application was made to the Minister to give the river legal personality, and it's been rejected. So I suppose the next step is it might go to appeal.
So I guess that means we'll end up in the courts in London. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, River Frome.
I'm Gabby, a first-year law student from UCL, and I'm here today with Katie Neild from Client Earth.
Hello.
So, Katie, could you tell us a little bit about the laws surrounding air pollution and why they're important?
As you already know, we breathe in and out more than we do almost anything else. So it should come as no surprise that the stuff that's in the air around us has a huge impact on our health. So harmful gases in the air, such as nitrogen dioxide, as well as tiny invisible particles around us, can enter through our lungs into our bloodstream and affect the ways our bodies work. Evidence shows that air pollution can lead to or trigger heart attacks, strokes, asthma attacks, and it's also been linked to a whole host of different diseases, from dementia to diabetes. And that's why it's just so important that our laws are strong enough to protect our health and that government complies with the laws that are already in place.
So how do these laws protect our planet and the people on it, of course?
Well, the law can be a really powerful tool to protect people and the planet. But what we do know is that laws only really work to do that if they're properly enforced. There need to be hard-hitting consequences for governments and companies where they fail to live up to their legal obligations. And that's kind of where Client Earth comes in. That's what we're doing. We're using the law and we're enforcing the law to push for action to protect our environment and to protect people's health. And what we're doing is we're showing that that can actually really work. So, for example, in the UK and across Europe, we've been using air pollution laws to force governments to act to clean up the air. We've got clean air zones coming into place from Birmingham to Bath and from London to Leeds.
And what happens if the government doesn't abide by the laws in place?
Where governments and also big corporations who hold a lot of power fail to live up to their legal duties, they have to be held to account to make sure that the environment doesn't suffer. And we've shown time and time again that where government fails to act, including on its duties with respect to air pollution, we've taken them to the courts, we've highlighted these issues to regulators. So it's an example of real tangible, actual consequences from legal action being taken against governments.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting and inspiring.
Thank you.
I'm Estelle de Haan, I'm a barrister. I've been working in the law and with the law in the environment for about 10 years now, maybe a bit longer than that. And my work as a barrister and a lawyer has involved dealing with planning laws, dealing with environmental regulations, and dealing with other areas like access to information that can all come together to put a case before the courts. There's really three ways in which the law has been a bit like a superpower for me. The first is when I've been working with communities, and there are many, many ways in which the community can use the law to challenge decision making, to bring the climate emergency to the notice of decision makers. And simple things like going to the planning committee, bringing climate change, bringing net zero to the decision makers right from the very beginning. And that's a really empowering way in which the community can use the law. The second way is that when activists want to take further steps, so if they want to take direct action, if they want to slow walk in front of a truck going to a fracking site, if they want to lock on to prevent the truck getting into the fracking site, the law is there to protect them and enable them to do that. And then the third way is obviously when you take a decision maker to court to challenge the decision from having any effect. So we tried that a lot with fracking. We tried to prevent and have overturned the permission that was given to frack in the United Kingdom. We tried to get an injunction to prevent fracking from starting. We succeeded for about a week. And then we've tried to prevent other oil and gas and other coal from being taken out of the ground, essentially. And sometimes we've won and sometimes we've lost. But the law has been a very important way in which decision makers have had right front and centre the climate emergency in their minds. And even when we weren't successful before the courts, that legal pressure that kept being put on the industry, that kept being put on the decision makers, that kept being put on the regulator to oversee what was going on, all together that put so much pressure on the industry that in the end I think we contributed a lot to it being successful and fracking being subject at the moment to a moratorium in the UK. I've seen a lot of change over the time that I've been at the bar in the way in which the law works, and in particular in the way in which the law is funded. So the key case that I was involved in to do with fracking, I had a really wonderful activist who was a client, and I had solicitors with very long experience in dealing with that type of litigation, and we were able to get legal aid. We were able to get legal aid right up to asking the Supreme Court to think about our case. I cannot tell you how seldom that is the case these days. For this type of work, it's very challenging to get funding. And that access to justice and having that ability to go to the courts when necessary, I think is absolutely crucial. And that's one area where there's been a lot of difficulty. Crowdfunding has been a wonderful way of trying to fill that gap. And a lot of what I would do would not happen without crowdfunding. I think it's amazing. But I don't necessarily think that that is solving all of the problem that the cuts in legal aid have led to. The other deep concern that I have is that we have used so many important legal tools to ensure that both regulators take steps and decision makers take steps that puts the climate emergency at the core of what they do. And I see those laws potentially being eroded. With the new Environment Bill, I see difficulties around the new regulator and having less power than was previously the case. and I'm concerned that other rules about environmental impact assessment might be watered down. And I think that would be fundamentally the wrong thing to do at this time when we have so little time left to address the climate emergency. If you are interested in the power of the law to create a more just and equal world, there are many things that you can do, right from being at school and getting involved with organisations, going out and potentially protesting and understanding what the protest movement is doing, or just jumping online and getting involved in campaigns, following people on Twitter and understanding what it is that they're saying. I think there's really two main things that you can do. Get involved so that you have a deep understanding of the issue. And if you then choose to go into the law, you understand that grassroots, you understand how things are impacting human beings. And that is a key for me in being really excellent at using the law. And the other thing to do is to arm yourself with knowledge. And that's the thing that I've found is amazing about the law, is the law gives you the power to use what you know and what the people around you know and your experts know to really change the world. And if you've got that knowledge and then you go into the law, if that's what you feel like you want to do, then that really can be something special.